This is the exact system that anyone can use to build a six-figure or more personal brand, and how I cracked LinkedIn to generate millions from my own personal brand without any complicated automation or cringe content. Now, I've been building my personal brand for about 5 years now, and I've got over 50,000 followers on LinkedIn, but the thing is, I barely go viral, and it's because I'm optimizing for qualified sales calls in our calendars, which we do a pretty good job of. Typically, we have 45 of these on average every month from LinkedIn, and they're also warm and inbound, so our close rates on them are pretty good. We know for every single one of these calls that we book, these intro calls, we sign about 15% of them. So every 100 of these calls, we typically sign 15 high ticket clients. And for context, I generate about 5 million views per year, which is great because it also brings me things like podcast opportunities, speaking engagements, sponsorships, etc. But as I said, I don't really go viral that often. I've just got a system that I can rely on week in, week out. And it's taken me 5 years now, but we've mastered the system. I'm going to show you how to get results way quicker than that. And by the end of today, you will understand how to build a wildly successful personal brand online. Truth is, right now, what I'm seeing from my own experience is that more and more entrepreneurs and businesses are struggling than ever from a lack of opportunities. What I'm seeing is that ad costs are going up. Competition is getting more and more fierce every single day. Clients have stopped buying, sales cycles are getting longer, and scrutiny has skyrocketed. And what that means is that your acquisition starts to dry up, your prices are being squeezed, you're starting to see declining profits and a lack of cash flow. And you're not sure sometimes where the next client is actually going to come from. And it sucks, right? I know it sucks because you have a great product. Your offer is a no-brainer, but you just feel constantly overlooked whilst your competitors, who maybe aren't actually as good as you, seem to be doing okay. All of a sudden, what you were doing previously just doesn't seem to be working anymore. But today I'm going to show you a system that will help you become the go-to in your space and start to sign high value clients. And it's going to work regardless of how big your audience currently is, your budget, or the industry you're in. And you won't have to spend hours making complex funnels or discounting your price in order to get people over the line. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to look at the trust gap that is slowing down your sales, the 3-step trust building system that me and my clients use to build trust with our audience at scale, how to establish premium position, the actual steps you need to take to build trust at scale, and how to sign high value clients. And look, honestly, I think this is the greatest opportunity we've ever had as entrepreneurs. But I also think it's one of the hardest times to be an entrepreneur ever. Why do I think that? Well, because trust is at an all-time low. In fact, PwC have been studying trust for the last few years, and in a study where they asked business execs how much their audience they think actually trust their company, 90% of business execs thought they were highly trusted by consumers, but actually the same consumers, only 30% of them highly trust the companies, creating this 60-point trust gap between how much we think our consumers trust us and how much they actually do. And this is actually up from 57 points in the 2 years prior to this study. So trust is only getting worse. And it's because the world today looks very, very different to what it did maybe 10, 20 years ago. Every market is becoming more and more accessible. There have been gurus that have been lying for years, and customers are just more skeptical than ever. It's no wonder PwC actually called trust the new currency for business. And that's why you're pretty much lighting your money on fire if all you're doing is what I call push marketing. It's met with a wall of skepticism no matter how much you spend or send. And of course, I'm not saying these strategies never work, right? Of course they do, but ask yourself this: when was the last time you bought a product worth over $1,000 directly from an ad? You probably didn't, right? You probably did extensive research. And Google actually proved this with their 7-Eleven for all. They analyzed over 1 billion data points and found that to turn a stranger into buyer, it takes at least 7 hours of interaction across 11 separate touch points in 4 different locations. So 7 hours of contact time with you across 11 separate instances in 4 different places for someone to trust you enough in order to actually buy. What does this all mean? Well, quite frankly, it means the more people trust you, the more sales you are going to make. It is that simple. But the thing about trust is that trust has to be earned. And the way you earn trust is through repeated positive interactions. Now, take a moment to think about your own marketing system. You're probably doing one of two types of marketing right now. You're probably doing that push marketing that I mentioned before, or maybe you're doing no marketing at all. And at the same time, your market is getting more and more crowded. Really, you're left with two options. You can compete on price and you can continue to discount in a race to the bottom, or you can just slowly fizzle out. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem like a great deal to me. Actually, you do have one more option. You can build trust at scale and become the go-to authority in your industry by using your personal brand. Because whilst your market might be crowded, no one can replicate you. What's more, people actually trust people way more than they trust faceless companies. This is literally ingrained in our evolutionary psychology. We are meant to trust other humans. It's just that gurus, fakes, and cowboys have started to erode your audience's trust over time. With the right steps, though, you can regain that trust. And honestly, this is nothing new. We've been relying on humans to build trust with our audience for years. It's just that in 2005, you needed a relationship with David Beckham and $10 million to spend in order to do so. In the 2010s to 2015, we pivoted more towards influencers and then creators as the digital world started to emerge, and then micro creators in 2020. But actually in 2025, the opportunity is with personal brands. People want to consume content from the people behind a business. And that's why today you are the number one marketing channel for your company. It's no wonder all the biggest and most successful entrepreneurs spent hundreds of thousands doing this. And the stats back it up as well. 81% of people actually trust a company when their senior management team are active on social media. Global executives believe up to 45% of company market value is attributable to the CEO's reputation, and 86% of people say the CEO's reputation impacts their decision to work with a service provider. In a study we ran, we found that over 51% of people would pay at least five times more for people they trust as industry leaders. And in a separate study, we found that 100% of people who had focused on building their personal brand saw an increase in new business opportunities. Now look, the system that I'm going to teach you today, it won't require a 20-person PR team. You can actually do it yourself in 5 to 10 hours per week, but you need the right system to do it. And please don't say you have 5 to 10 hours per week to dedicate to the most important thing in your business, because I know firsthand how effective this can be. I started building my personal brand actually as a 19-year-old student. Now, 55,000 followers, millions of dollars later, working with 250 clients, featuring on Sky News, podcast, Business Insider. I know firsthand how effective personal branding has been. But it's not just the kind of headlines that you see there that make it so powerful. It's actually allowed me to generate new business opportunities every single month, hit 40% conversion rates on some of our high-ticket offers, despite actually not being that good at sales, and sign 7, 8, and 9-figure brands as clients. And I'm in a fortunate position now where I know I'll get leads every single week. I'm visible and credible in my industry, and I have an audience that I can sell to anytime I like. And as I said, I don't use any wildly complicated strategies. I don't have an enormous ad budget, and I do it without selling my soul. I do all of it with my LinkedIn profile and a few hours per week. And LinkedIn really is the best place to do this because, well, it's home to over 61 million senior level influencers, as well as 10 million C-level executives. It drives 277% more B2B leads than Facebook, Instagram, or X. What's more, personal profiles, especially founders and execs, get 10 times more reach, and LinkedIn users have double the buying power of Facebook users. Plus, anyone can start posting today without a fancy camera setup, without a 10-person media team, or without a huge ad budget. And the systems I'm going to teach you today are the same systems that have helped our clients like Sean go from 4,000 to over 27,000 followers, selling out his accelerator twice and generating 4 million impressions in the process. They helped Debbie generate 10 million impressions. Ollie built a multi-6-figure pipeline and landed speaking engagements. Anna's generated over 5,000 new followers, and Joe's hit millions of views, record month, and built a multi-6-figure pipeline. And all of these results are from the same 3-step system, and everyone can start implementing this today. And this is going to help you 10x your visibility, become the number one authority in the industry, and add 6 figures to your pipeline in the next 90 to 180 days. And the way we're going to do this is by first getting clarity on your brand and positioning you as an industry leading figure. That's going to help build trust, increase conversion rates, and help you land higher paying clients. Then we'll amplify your expertise to millions of people to build your audience, create a credible online presence, and start to generate opportunities. And then you'll effortlessly convert that newfound reputation into meaningful opportunities through our authority building ecosystem. So how does this work? I'm going to walk you through this exact system. The first step that you need to get right is what we call positioning. This is how you get buy-in before you even produce a piece of content. It is hands down the most underappreciated aspect of building a personal brand. Yet it's the one that consistently separates the profitable personal brands from the unprofitable ones. If you build your personal brand on a solid foundation of positioning, everything else you do will be 10 times more effective. And honestly, one of the reasons why maybe you're not dominating your industry right now is because you're not seen as a leading figure in the space. So that means you're constantly overlooked and you don't get the opportunities, the clients, or the rates you deserve. And the reason this is so important is because the messenger matters. So who says something matters just as much, if not more, than what they actually said. If you want people to listen to you, you need to be seen as someone worth listening to. And I know this to be true because if I asked you, out of these two guys, who would you rather trust for investment advice, I can bet my bottom dollar who you're gonna say. You're gonna say Warren Buffett, right? Not Dave from down the pub. We don't know. Dave down from down the pub might be an absolute expert on investments, but he's just not positioned as such. You choose the person who is positioned as the authority. And that's why nearly 90% of people are more likely to trust your company if a senior leader is a recognized expert. And the biggest mistake I see is just thinking I'll focus on my product and everything else will work itself out. Simply being good at what you do, it's table stakes now. If people don't know your true value, they'll presume you're just like everyone else. And actually, there are 3 mistakes that are plaguing personal brands when it comes to their positioning. What people don't realize is that to the public, it's not clear what you do. It's not clear why you're credible, and often it's not clear how to actually work with you. And that means you'll keep getting overlooked whilst lower quality competitors are sweeping up mind share in your industry. But you can solve all of that if you get the 3 elements of world-class positioning in place. So to be seen as an authority and to actually generate opportunities through your personal brand, you have to make 3 things clear. You have to make your promise clear. This is like your personal value proposition, what people are actually going to get out of working with you. Humans are inherently selfish, and if there's not a clear transformation or result that people are going to get out of following you, out of consuming your content, out of knowing who you are, or out of working with you, you are not going to get their attention in the first place. But you also need to back that up with proof, which is proof that you are somebody worth listening to. There are truthfully going to be lots of people in your industry that deliver the same or a similar transformation and have a similar promise to you, but none of them will have the same proof points you do. So milestones and results that you've achieved in the past that give you credibility as someone that can speak on this particular topic. And finally, you have to package all of this up in a way that is engaging and easy for your audience to understand and differentiates you from everyone else in the industry. And if you don't have these things clear across your LinkedIn profile, for example, you are literally wasting money. You wouldn't run ads to an unoptimized website, right? So not having these 3 things clear on your LinkedIn profile and then going and creating content or doing outreach is kind of like running ads to an unoptimized website. Because in the modern day, your LinkedIn profile is actually like your own business card, your pitch deck, your website, all in one. So you don't want to be going to the effort of creating content, putting yourself out there if these things aren't clear on the profile. They need to be immediately and abundantly clear. You can see some of these elements on my profile now, such as the proof in my tagline, the promise that I've got in my cover photo and my tagline. It's immediately and abundantly clear who I help, what I help them do, and why I'm worth listening to on this subject. You need to have the same. And once you've got that, you're going to be in a great place to start amplifying that positioning and getting it out to the world. We do this with amplifications. How do we get that positioning in front of lots of people? The best way to do this is through posting content. Now, a lot of people, they think, I don't need to post content. My work will do the talking. The truth is, just doing great work doesn't cut it anymore. A lot of people are doing great work. You won't stand out in that sea of competition. The reality is, you have to do the talking for your work over and over again. And content is the best way to do this because it's like a 24/7 salesperson. Content will speak to more people in a day than you possibly can in a lifetime. And it doesn't get sick, It doesn't take leave, it doesn't need a salary, it doesn't need meetings, and it works around the clock. It is like the engine of your reputation. Producing content is the best investment you can make and one of the most important skills that business leaders must learn in the modern day. Why? Well, because as I said, you are the number one ambassador for your business. And content allows you to scale yourself. Every high quality piece of content you put out is an asset that is working for you, building your personal brand in the background. If you don't publish any, well, you will never reach the top of your industry. If you do manage to produce a consistent basis of high quality content, you'll be able to reach, influence, and persuade millions of people at scale and turn connections into clients. Look, best case from this, you generate a consistent stream of inbound leads and opportunities. Very worst case, you build an audience of people who they'll advocate you and they'll refer you to your friends. Both of those sound like pretty good options to me. But of course, just posting content is not enough. Just posting is terrible advice because look, we live in a far more competitive world than we did maybe 15 years ago, where yes, that would have worked and consumers are more skeptical than ever. So we need the right types of content to truly build our personal brand. If we just post, well, you get average content, you blend in, which means you get no results, don't get any clients off the back of it, and you give up and start again. So just posting is terrible advice. Let's look at how we actually produce content that drives results. Well, really, it's a shockingly simple 3-step system that you need to understand content. And when we build personal brand strategies for our clients, this is the exact content framework we use, because really all we need to do when we post content is 3 things. We need to get in front of new people, we need to build trust with those people, and we need to convert them. And every time I post one of these 3 types of content, they're literally working in the background for me. Whether I'm in meetings, in the gym, on holiday with my family, they're building my visibility and my credibility on autopilot. Not only do they generate pretty cool results like these and get us in front of lots of people, but they're actually able to drive the things that really matter. So what are the 3 things we need to do? Well, as I said, we need to get in front of new people, get new people who don't already know us to know we exist. The first thing that has to happen for somebody to ultimately work with you or offer you a space on their podcast or whatever that opportunity is for you, they need to know you exist. It's the first type of content we're going to post is content just to get new people into that pool of people within our sphere of influence. We've then got to build trust with that pool of people that already knows we exist, because them just knowing you is not enough. That's a great way to have hundreds of thousands of followers, but an empty bank account, which is not what we want. And then we simply have to nudge them towards buying from us or working with us or booking us to speak, whatever that result is for you. And if we do these 3 things, you will be building a profitable personal brand. And there are 3 types of content we use in order to do that. We start with growth content, which is pretty broadly targeted. You want it to be relevant to everyone in your industry, because this is really just aimed to increase the pool of people that knows we exist. So we actually do care about things like engagement and views here. And the more engagement we can get by making our content accessible, the more views we're going to be able to generate. So we don't want to be talking about things that are completely irrelevant to our product, our service, and our audience, but we need to be slightly more broad than just speaking exclusively to our ICP. Personal stories are a great example of this sort of content. Really, you just want it to be easy to engage with because your goal is to grow your audience. You're not worried about converting people at this stage. Once we've then increased the pool of people that knows we exist, we of course want to build trust them. We do that through authority content. This is slightly more targeted. It's going to be targeted specifically at your niche within the industry that you're targeting. Here we're talking thought leadership, insights on things that are happening in your industry, frameworks that you're using. We're not necessarily worried about going crazy viral with this sort of content. It's more about demonstrating our expertise, because our sole aim here is to build trust with the pool of people that know we exist already. And that puts us in a great position to publish conversion content and actually generate leads off the back of it. And this content is hyper specific to your ICP. It's really narrowly targeted, and our sole aim here is to generate leads. So we're not worried about going viral, getting loads and loads of views. If we get 100 views on this content, but we generate 10 leads off the back of it, that is a wildly successful piece of conversion content. So here you're talking things like social proof, case studies, milestones, lead magnets that are going to get people to the next stage of working with you. And if you publish those 3 types of content, you will be building your audience, building authority, and building your pipeline at the same time. The only thing that doesn't work is hoping. Hoping is not a strategy. So, not posting at all and just waiting for referrals or clients to stumble across you, it just doesn't work. Posting aimlessly and hoping as well also doesn't work. Yes, you have to publish content, but you have to publish it strategically. And if you don't, well, you're missing out on hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on your business every single month. You're not going to be building trust with the right people, and you're going to be letting your competitors sweep up that all important mind share from your audience. Once we've done this, we're building our audience, we're building authority, we're in a great position to actually start converting our connections into clients. Here, we're going to turn that attention and goodwill we've built up into actual pipeline value. Now, if you nail your positioning and your content, you'll probably already have a few leads coming to you organically, reaching out in the DMs, but without a structured conversion system, you're always going to be missing out on potential opportunities. Because personal brand, it's kind of like dating, right? And most people either never propose or they propose on the first date. What that means is they never offer to help people because they're afraid of being too pushy, or they spam their audience with first message sales pitches and put them off straight away. People just do not want to be spammed straight away. However, you do need to provide opportunities for them to engage with you and ultimately buy from you. And the reason this is so important is that if you don't do this, you will only ever convert about 3% of your market. And these are the now buyers. These are people that are ready to go. They're already on the edge of wanting to work with someone. They've seen your content. These are the people that are going to be reaching out in your DMs. And truthfully, a lot of your audience, they won't buy at all. And that's okay because we've built so much goodwill with them that they will refer people and speak highly of you. It's this 37% of people that sit in the future buyer category that we really want to capitalize on here. 37% of people might buy in the future, they just need to take the right steps, or maybe they're not quite ready to buy now. And the most profitable personal brands all understand that this is due to something called the commitment gap. So producing content, publishing content, and consuming content on LinkedIn, for example, is very, very low commitment. You can do it for free in a matter of seconds or minutes from the comfort of your own home without actually having to talk to anyone. It's very, very low commitment. Everyone can do it very easily. Whereas spending 4, 5, maybe even 6 figures working with you is extremely high commitment. And a lot of people in this 37% that might buy in the future just can't quite make that jump in commitment, can't cross that commitment gap on their own all in one go, but we somehow expect them to. Actually, what we need to do is provide gradual increases in the amount of commitment people are willing to make to us over time, and to the point where they are ready to invest a significant sum of money in potentially working with us. Rather than expecting them to make that jump in commitment all in one go, we need to gradually increase it over time. And that's one of the reasons we're able to get more appointments that are actually warm and have higher conversion rates and pay good rates. And we do all of this with something called the thought leader funnel. And whilst this is called a funnel, we need to treat it more like an ecosystem. We don't treat people like most people treat them in their funnels. Most people treat funnels as this one-directional machine that is siloed from everything else they do. The cost of that is that someone either becomes a client or they don't become a client. And if they do become a client, to be honest, it's going to be at a very low conversion rate. Anyway, if they don't, well, they leave your world, they don't amount to anything meaningful ever again. With our funnel though, we're optimizing it such that if someone doesn't become a client now, they become a client later. And if they don't become a client later, they will refer somebody who will. We build up that much goodwill by creating this highly valuable ecosystem of bingeable content. And when the time's right, we'll be there for them to work with us. If the time's not right, well, they'll still speak highly of us. So how does it work? Well, we start by producing content across social media, and this generates traffic. But we need to capture interest from that 37% of people who might be interested in working with us. They have the problem that we solve. They're just not quite ready yet. So we send them to landing pages where we can offer high value resources in exchange for their contact information. They submit a form in order to get access to a lead magnet that solves a particular problem they have. Now, at this point, this is really important. They're pretty much putting up their hands and saying, hey, I have the problem you solve. I'm just not quite ready to pay you yet. That is what they are saying when they submit this form. In exchange for submitting this form, which is a slightly higher commitment than just consuming our LinkedIn content, at that point, of course, we want to send them access to the thing that they've requested in the first place. But before we do that, we're actually going to redirect them to a sales page or a calendar booking page. Now, depending on your offer, this is where people can either book in with you to speak to you, or they can directly buy your product. In the background, we are then sending them the resource or the lead magnet that they've requested that is going to solve their problem. Of course, the idea is that they then buy or they book a call and we can send a thank you page and nurture them into the point where they're actually inside our product or service. In the meantime, of course, in the background, we're sending out lots of emails to nurture them. We've now got that contact information so we can nurture them via email each and every week, and again, gradually increase the commitment they're willing to make. And all of the resources we share are constantly linking to each other and to our calendar booking page so that there are a number of touch points and opportunities to convert these people into clients. And once we have a system like this in place, well, really we only need to focus on a couple of things. We've got to focus on increasing the number of people that enter the ecosystem, because if we increase the number of people going into this system, well, we're going to get more people buying out the back end. Or we can spend some time fine-tuning the system and the conversion rate by 1 or 2% to get more out for the same number of people in. And this creates a huge amount of leverage and predictability in our businesses. And this really, whole system is how we reach new people, build trust with them, and convert that trust into money at scale. And if you're wondering whether this will work for you, it's already been proven in a number of industries, even highly niche ones like shipping and procurement. How do I know this? Well, we've worked with clients in all of these spaces and we've achieved some amazing results for them. Like Mike, for example, who was able to generate £20,000 of business within a few months of doing this. Like Joe, who generated a consistent stream of leads into his inbox. Gemma, who saw 51,000% increase in views. And look, I could list off a load more of these examples and show you all of the amazing results we've been able to achieve through this system. And really, I show you this just to make one thing clear, and that this is possible for you as well. Anyone can do this with the right system that you've got today. So ask yourself, what would life be like if you had a consistent stream of new opportunities and leads coming to you every single week, willing to pay 10 times more? It probably wouldn't do any harm, right? In order to truly see the benefit of this, though, you have to start with solid positioning, a really strong profile, and a content strategy. And this is the difference between success and months of wasted time, missed opportunities, and quite frankly, embarrassment. Now, this is actually something we build with our clients, and we have a few spaces currently available to build strategies for people who are looking to really leverage personal branding for their own business or inside their company. So if that's you, and you think having a strategy like the one we've talked about today, built by experts, would be beneficial, let's grab some time in the calendar and one of our team will confirm whether this is a good fit. So if you click the link below this video, around this video, you'll be able to find a time in the next 7 to 10 days in our calendar. And on the call, we'll discuss your personal brand and your business goals over the next 90 days to 1 year. And we'll talk through an action plan to see how we can actually help you become your industry's go-to thought leader. Now, look, we are limited on the number of these calls we can take simply by calendar space. So please only book if you're serious about investing in your personal brand and committing to your growth. If that's you, well, we're looking forward to speaking to you very soon.